literally finishing the very last Super Duty in the run of 50 in that edition. I received a phone call earlier this year. The voice on the other end said, look, I know you're phasing out the Trans Am, you're moving toward the Chevelle, but would you consider doing one more?
When I was young, my daddy said, gotta keep one eye open in your bed, 'cause there's a time coming when the devil gonna come for you.
A lot of sentiment in the Trans Am name on this alpha platform that all the Trans Am start life as. It's a very, very high performing, extremely comfortable platform that we've gotten used to over the last couple of years. So to see it go is gonna be hard.
So my trigger finger, stay prepared. I've got my weapon and I got my prayers, 'cause if you don't run this town, they'll walk all over you.
An idea occurred to me. What if we did something we've never done before? We do one time, and that's it. I approached him about doing an HO.
Run out loud, gotta run on. Keep on running till the sun goes down. Run out loud, better run on. Run all day till you can't be found.
Now, HO is an acronym for high output, and it was an engine package that Pontiac started back in the early 60s. That was in the 421 cubic inch. In subsequent years, they used it in the 426, the 326, the 350, and in 1968 and 69, they came out with a 400 cubic inch HO edition.
Run out loud, gotta run on. Keep on running till the sun goes down. You can howl on the devil, but you ain't gonna howl on me.
And that was when it made it into the Firebird series and later the Trans Am.
You ain't gonna howl on me. You ain't gonna, you ain't gonna howl on me.
The HO is probably, at least for the Trans Am lovers, most well known for the 455 HO, which appeared in 1970. I thought if we're ending a series, why not go back to the beginning? And we'll do it as a 400 cubic inch, which in and of itself is a first for us, because all the Trans Ams that we did for the last 14 years were either a 6.2 or 7.4. So this is a chance to do a one-off HO 6.6 liter 400 cubic inch Trans Am. He loved the idea.
So as you can see, this finish in the corporate blue pays tribute to the homage of the HO Trans Am from back then. Still sticks to the Common Core American math. 1 cam, 8 cylinders, 16 valves. Build it bigger, build it stronger, build it for boost now.
Okay, let's go measure on the car.
My immediate thought was we're going to do something totally different in terms of graphics.
We're going with a unique font that we've never used before on a Trans Am, so this is cool because it's something no one else has. It's a block font, but all the letters are like touching each other, and I like it. We've used a Gothic font on some of them. We've used a standard font on some of the other ones, and they just decided to go with something a little bit different. Nothing's ever flat and flush. Everything's always got a shape to it, and if you think you can just make things parallel to the ground, you do that, and it doesn't look right once you get it. That's why I'm measuring it on the car, sitting on the ground with the fender on the car. That's 31.7, and that's 31.7. I'm gonna put it in the exact same location, the lower part of the line to the bottom of the fender. I think I'll split the difference. You wouldn't think that 2 millimeters would make such a big difference, but it does. We're gonna go with 31.6. This deck lid is curved this way, and it's also curved this way. And I've got a flat stencil. I have to split this stencil in two, make a little pie piece up here, and bend both of them downward like that so they're parallel with this line. If I don't do that, it'll look like the Trans Am's curved. Woo. Splitting hairs. And you can see there's a little pie piece right there. Because if I didn't cut this in half and make that little opening right there, this thing would be bowed. Awesome.
He said, it's got to be black with gold stripes, and I want you to use carbon fiber.
If we're going to have an exposed carbon graphic on a car, Chris McMahon, that runs the carbon department, we have to let him know ahead of time.
This customer wants a full carbon look. The Trans Am are made with resin infusion instead of the pre-preg that Chevelles are made out of. But it enables us to get the look, to lay the grain down, like this particular one. When you look at the car in the front, the carbon's going to go away like the bird does.
Give him enough information to know what sections are going to be exposed carbon and what aren't, where they have to pay particular attention to making sure that the fibers are running in the right direction.
And I follow through with the whole car. decks lid, the roof, seat tops, whichever. Even the door panels on the inside of the car go with the flow of the bird.
So they have to kind of treat it with kid gloves and work their way through it all the way through.
And then after I've got that set, it's where I want it, it looks good, it's down. And then I go for the bulking of for the strength. I'll put this other material called biax, it's carbon fiber.
He said, give me a healthy engine.
Oh yeah, I'm a big speedhead, man.
Doesn't have to be over the top. I don't want my wife to be intimidated if she wants to drive it, but just give me something healthy.
This starts life as an L21 block, which is what the donor car comes with. We go through, clean up the cylinder walls, and get the whole new rotating assembly, all Cali's, cranking rods, stuff that's made to handle a lot more power than we're even throwing at it currently. Aftermarket Brian Tooley camshaft, as well as their valve train components, all built around boosted application stuff, of course, because we're strapping a supercharger on top of it. Voila, one mounted blue engine. That's about it.
She's a beaut. One of a kind, too. I'm excited about this one.
This is the 2650 from Magnuson. It's a very tried and true unit. This car will be making around 14, 15 pounds of boost, about 800 wheel horsepower on 93 octane fuel. No special race gases, no nothing like that. It's also going to utilize a 9-inch rear diff, upgraded suspension arms, as well as some coilovers to really be able to manage that newfound power.
With the coilovers, it had a little adjustability, so we could adjust the ride height a little bit and the stance of the car. That turned out to be a really good idea and another first for us.
Being the last of the Trans Am series, we wanted to stand out from all the other ones.
I wanted to take the bird and fractionate it. The thought was we separate the wings from the body and we use some of that negative space, integrate accents of the carbon fiber in the hood rather than an in-your-face carbon fiber Phoenix.
Put a stencil down, we sprayed it black. By spraying the black and pulling the male stencil off, it left a carbon fiber bird, and then I had to work my way inward from that point. I have to put gold on. I have to put masking tape and cover all the gold.
Almost every black Trans Am we've ever done has been with a gold bird. So I approached him about doing the bird with a red outline.
Then I have to put red on, and I have to manually mask over all the red, and then I put a last cover lay over it, and I spray the black in the center of the feather, so this will be black here. Having that red in there really makes everything pop.
I knew the color well because I actually used it on my gold edition Trans Am.
When we did the exposed graphics, I did something I've never done before. I blackened the center of the carbon bird out and do a fade out from the center outward.
Look how it fades in and out.
But leave a carbon fiber ridge exposed all the way around the outside.
That was the whole purpose, is to use the carbon fiber as an accent.
It was something custom I've never done before, and I wanted to challenge myself, see if I could do it, and it came out really well. I'm real proud of it.
It gives you the impression the bird's floating. Feel like you could stick your hand into it.
I'd say there's 70, 80 hours of prep in doing that particular hoodie.
Black, red, and gold look really good together. And so now we had those three colors plus the carbon.
And we decided to put a red stripe across the carbon splitter at the bottom of the spoiler and also around the headlight doors. And when you open up and you're looking inside the interior, there's red accents inside the interior too.
We'd already talked about doing carbon fiber on the interior of the door, on the birds. We would do that to match the hood. Then we chose to take the black interior that he wanted and trim it with gold thread. It's subtle.
You put splashes of a color and you can go way too far real quick. We wanted to just have nice subtle touches on the interior that matched the exterior, and it all came together really nice.
He loved the look of the wheels that we did on the Super Duty. He has a Super Duty. So we came up with the idea of doing a 19-inch, something we'd never done before. We used a black barrel. We put a gold insert to match the gold on the accent of the exterior of the car. Then we put as much meat on the back and the front as we could. 11-inch wheels on the rear, 10-inch on the front. Putting the white letters on just gave it a really nice touch and that sporty throwback look.
We'll get a base tune from Elite Tuned. We'll load that in, get it up and running, get the fluid levels right, make sure everything's operational, and then start driving and testing, dialing it in, braking in this engine. Strap it down in the dyno, we'll make a series of pulls to dial in the air-fuel ratios, get everything where we want it before we start dialing up the spark.
800 rear wheel on that car is probably just over 900 at flywheel. So plenty of power and manageable.
Yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of our customer base aren't quite sure what to expect. It's something so powerful, just the sheer brute strength that something like this is able to produce. So it's extremely surprising to them that something that is so timid on the streetways can get 15 miles per gallon with, but when you grab a hold of that gas pedal, man, it's a whole different experience. Walking that thin line between something that could achieve greater power, greater strength, but still maintain ease of drivability. If you got a manual car, it's not a heavy clutch pedal. If you got an automatic car, it's not some surging, you got to drive with 2 feet to keep it alive type deal. It's accomplishing both of those goals at once is what we strive for. And it's a hard line to walk, but we always manage to accomplish it.
It took a long time to get all this stuff figured out. Many years ago, when we first started doing the Trans Ams and I came on board, we were just doing them like the factory did and we were putting stickers on them. And I brought up to Todd that we could paint that stuff on, and he was very intrigued to hear that we could paint them. Then he sold 77 Bandits, and every single one of them was painted graphics. So we went from doing 2 or 3 to all of a sudden, okay, you got 77 to do. So it was like, wow. So I kind of honed my skills on doing the birds on all of the Bandit models that we did.
Responses would be a timid way of putting it. I mean, it could get scary sometimes, you know, cruising down the road, the person driving the car next to you with a phone trying to record you while they're driving 2 feet away. They think it's acceptable to record on their cell phone. In other realms, like being at gas stations, stuff like that, there's not a time I stop, you know, whether I got the laptop with me making updates from our guys at Elite or just doing some final tests, and I got people coming up and, hey, yo, that's awesome what you're doing, and we love your guys' cars, or somebody that has no idea on the platform of what we're doing here, like, what kind of car is that? You know, I've never seen a car like this. The response is always positive in person.
I think it was a fitting tribute to the entire series to end on a note that harkens back to the beginning. This car is a series of one.